What if every moment of your life, every blink, every breath was scripted entertainment for someone else? What if the people you loved were just actors? The sky, a painted dome, and your world nothing but a set. The Truman Show wasn't just a film. It was a warning hidden behind a smile, wrapped in pastel perfection. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about The Truman Show. Some people didn't just watch The Truman Show. They started living it. After the film's release, psychiatrists began documenting a rare psychological condition, the Truman Show delusion. Patients were convinced they were being watched, that their families, friends, even strangers were part of a massive reality show built around them. Some traveled across countries to escape the set. Others staged confrontations with producers they believed were controlling their lives. This wasn't satire. It was clinical. Doctors in the US and Europe wrote papers on the phenomenon, naming the delusion after the film itself. A movie that blurred the line between fiction and reality and then erased it completely. Jim Carrey didn't just play Truman, he started to believe him. At the height of his fame, Carrey took the role as an escape from the chaos of his public persona. But what he found on set was something darker. He later revealed that, while filming, he often questioned whether his own life was real, whether he was part of a constructed illusion. He became increasingly isolated, walking the streets of seaside Florida, the film's set, long after shooting ended, as if trying to find a seam in the sky. What was meant to be a performance turned into something hauntingly personal. In trying to depict a man trapped in a fake world, Carrey started losing touch with the real one. The perfect little town of Sea Haven wasn't built on a soundstage. It was real, disturbingly real. The film was shot in seaside Florida, a meticulously planned community where every house looked like it belonged on a postcard, and every street seemed scrubbed clean of chaos. The production barely altered anything. The town's symmetry, pastel tones, and artificial calm fit the vision of a fabricated utopia too well. Even the extras were locals, and some didn't realize a movie was being filmed. Kubrick built dystopias from sets. Weir found one that already existed. Sea Haven wasn't just a set. It was a mirror held up to suburbia, and it didn't flinch. The original script for The Truman Show was nothing like the film you know. Andrew Niccol's first draft wasn't a satirical drama, it was a paranoid thriller. Set in a dystopian version of New York City, the script was dark, violent, and emotionally brutal. Truman smoked, cursed, and slowly unraveled as he uncovered a conspiracy that ended in death. The tone was more Blade Runner than suburban comedy. Studio executives pushed for a softer version, something palatable. What the world got was pastel facades and gentle manipulation, but underneath, the bones of a much darker story still remain. The dome that held Truman's world together had its cracks literally. In one early scene, a stage light labeled "Serious" falls from the artificial sky and crashes onto the street. It seemed symbolic, but it was also rooted in reality. The production team drew inspiration from a real-life incident in a television studio, where an overhead light fixture dislodged and narrowly missed a guest during a live show. The filmmakers borrowed that moment not just for shock, but to foreshadow that even perfect illusions have flaws. What begins as an accident becomes the first fracture in Truman's fabricated world. And sometimes, all it takes to shatter belief is one falling star. The show within the show had a real director, and he wasn't just acting. Ed Harris played Christoph, the godlike creator of Truman's world. But the character was originally written for Dennis Hopper, who was cast and even shot for one day before being fired. Harris stepped in at the last minute, building the role almost from scratch. He wore a black beret to mimic real-life directors, insisted on minimal rehearsal, and improvised several of Christoph's most chilling lines. His calm delivery masked a disturbing level of control both in the film and behind the scenes. Harris didn't just play the puppet master. For a moment, he became him. The extras in Truman's life were given scripts and strict limits. To maintain the illusion of Sea Haven, background actors were assigned precise movements and expressions. They weren't allowed to speak to Jim Carrey off camera, even during breaks. Some were instructed to loop their walk paths in subtle figure eights to simulate daily routine, while others had to mime conversations silently. The goal: simulate a living, breathing world that felt real but only from Truman's limited perspective. They weren't characters. They were human wallpaper. In a world built on performance, silence wasn't just golden, it was mandatory. Truman's escape route was never supposed to be the ocean. In early drafts, his breaking point came not by sailboat, but by subway, an attempt to flee the city and discover what lay beyond. But director Peter Weir insisted on the sea. He believed that Truman, who had been traumatized by a staged boating accident as a child, would confront his deepest fear to break free. It wasn't just more cinematic. It was symbolic. By sailing into the horizon, Truman didn't just escape a set. He conquered a lie that had been installed since childhood, and that made the ending unforgettable. The line, "Good morning, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night," wasn't in the script. Jim Carrey improvised it during early takes, blending cheerfulness with something more unsettling. The crew loved it not because it was funny, but because it masked desperation beneath routine. The line was repeated again and again, becoming Truman's personal catchphrase, until it felt like a mantra, a programmed smile for a programmed world. It wasn't just a greeting, it was a performance within a performance. And when Truman said it one last time, it was the only honest moment he'd ever had on camera. The production wasn't shot chronologically except for Truman scenes. To preserve Jim Carrey's emotional arc, Peter Weir filmed almost all of Truman's moments in order. It was rare, expensive, and logistically complex. But it allowed Carrey to gradually internalize the unraveling of Truman's world, mirroring his character's slow awakening. Other actors filmed scenes out of sequence, but Carrey moved linearly, step by step, lie by lie. He wasn't just acting confused. He was confused. The structure blurred the boundary between fiction and reality not just for Truman, but for the man playing him. Christoph's control room was modeled after NASA's mission control. The sleek panels, glowing monitors, and wraparound screens weren't just set design, they were deliberate. Production designers wanted Christoph to resemble not a film director, but a godlike overseer, orchestrating life from above. The dome, the cameras, even the satellite imagery were meant to echo surveillance systems used in aerospace operations. This wasn't storytelling. It was mission command. In The Truman Show, entertainment became engineering, and God wore a headset. Every camera angle in the film was meant to look off. Peter Weir instructed the cinematographers to shoot most scenes from hidden or awkward perspectives through mirrors, trash cans, dashboard mounts, even shirt buttons. The lenses were often wide-angle, slightly distorted, and positioned too high or too low, mimicking the surveillance aesthetic of a reality show. The goal: make viewers feel like voyeurs, complicit in Truman's entrapment. You didn't just watch Truman, you spied on him, and that unease was entirely by design. A deleted scene revealed Truman wasn't the first. In a version of the script that never made it to screen, Christoph confesses that several other Trumans were tested before earlier subjects who either failed, went mad, or were quietly removed. The line was cut for tone, but the implication remained. Truman's world wasn't just artificial. It was built on silent failures. He wasn't chosen because he was special. He was chosen because he lasted longer than the others. The moon was watching him, literally. In The Truman Show, the moon isn't just set dressing. It's a hidden camera hub, embedded with high-powered lenses used by Christoph to monitor Truman from above. The production design team built the lunar surface with sliding panels and light rigs to mimic real tracking systems. It's a detail viewers often miss, but once you notice, it changes everything. The night sky wasn't vast or comforting. It was surveillance glowing softly above his every move. The background music wasn't just music, it was manipulation. Many of the film's cues, like Philip Glass's haunting score, were played inside Truman's world as if they were diegetic, meaning Truman could potentially hear them too. In key moments like his escape attempt or emotional breakdowns, the music swelled in real time, suggesting Christoph was using it to steer Truman's feelings. He didn't just control Truman's environment. He scored his emotions like a composer, directing a puppet with a symphony. One actor broke character, and it made the final cut. During a scene at the breakfast table, Truman's wife, played by Laura Linney, nervously advertises a household product straight to camera. The moment feels bizarre, almost panicked. That's because Linney improvised the ad under direction. But Carrey, staying in character, called it out mid-take. "What the hell are you talking about?" His confusion was real. The tension wasn't scripted. It was the only scene where both actors were breaking for opposite reasons, and the audience was caught in the middle. Peter Weir wrote a fake production Bible for the cast and crew. To help everyone stay immersed, Weir created a detailed internal guidebook outlining the fictional world of The Truman Show, from the history of the Sea Haven Dome to the backstories of every extra. It even included fake news broadcasts, marketing strategies for in-show products, and guidelines for how actors inside Truman's life should behave if he started questioning reality. This wasn't just method directing, it was constructing a fully functioning lie-down to the last headline. Truman's father's death wasn't just scripted, it was weaponized. Early in the film, Truman believes his father drowned during a sailing accident, a traumatic event that planted his lifelong fear of the ocean. But behind the scenes, it was an intentional manipulation by Christoph's production team, designed to keep Truman from ever trying to leave Sea Haven by boat. When his father later reappears on set, it's not a resurrection, it's a glitch. They didn't just control where Truman went. They engineered what he feared most. The exit door at the edge of the sea wasn't built until the final week of filming. Peter Weir wanted it to feel alien, as if it didn't belong, even in Truman's artificial world. So the stark black staircase and glowing hallway were constructed in total secrecy, away from the rest of the crew. When Jim Carrey first arrived at the set for that scene, he hadn't seen the door before. His hesitation, his pause, his quiet reach toward the unknown, none of it was rehearsed. In that moment, Truman wasn't acting. He was deciding whether to leave the only world he had ever known. Truman's final words weren't meant to be his last. The script originally ended with silence. Truman vanishes through the exit, and the screen cuts to black. But Jim Carrey insisted on delivering one last line, a farewell that echoed his manufactured catchphrase with biting irony. "In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night." It was a joke, a ritual, a rebellion. And in that final moment, the most artificial phrase in his life became the most honest thing he'd ever said. You never see what's on the other side of the door. As Truman steps into the darkness, the camera lingers not on him, but on the frame he leaves behind. Peter Weir refused to show what lay beyond. No freedom, no future, no real world, just absence. It was a deliberate choice, one that unsettled test audiences but thrilled the director, because the truth isn't what Truman finds. It's what we're left wondering. What if there is no outside? Tell us in the comments which fact made you question your own reality, and what film we should dig into next. Until then, stay curious, stay watching.